Hi, welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and the Libertarian Alternative is an educational television show brought to your community as a service of the Libertarian Party. My guest today is David Brin. Now, David, I do not know a huge amount about your work, but you are an accomplished, well-known author, and you've written 16 books?
Oh, it all depends whether or not you include things like the graphic novel, the comic book. The Life Eaters, but The Postman is my most famous book. Kevin Costner made that film back in 1997, and it had a big heart and was visually gorgeous, but doesn't have a lot of the intelligence of the book.
It didn't take away a lot of your, I mean, it didn't, you don't think it took a lot out of your book that you wish it would have taken?
You have to be even-tempered in this culture. I mean, hey, look, I got a movie, and, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Right.
It's visually gorgeous and big-hearted. Worse things have happened to people.
Yeah, and this is, and you've even, you know, you've even stooped, shall we say, to doing this graphic novel, which is a big word for a comic book.
Well, it's a very literary comic book, and it's very, very big in France, where they like those things.
But it's this is an adult kind of a thing for a more sophisticated audience, and trying to take that in that direction. But it looks very nice. I used to read comic books when I was younger. However, now, for some reason, I don't like the drawings anymore. But too much Japanese influence in the art.
Well,
but this is The Postman.
Right.
And then we have this one here, The Transparent Society.
And the subtitle is, Will Technology Force Us to Choose Between Freedom and Privacy? This one has got me about over 100 speaking gigs in the last few years, because it proposes a very unusual and somewhat libertarian stance that instead of having paternalists protect our privacy, we should be empowered as private individuals to know most of what's going on in our civilization, and to be empowered to hold the mighty accountable for ourselves. That's the miracle of our culture. No previous human civilization featured this one trait, that the average person is capable of holding the mighty accountable. I guess I'm known as a bit of a crackpot in the libertarian community, which is an odd thing to be a crackpot among crackpots, a source of pride. I gave a keynote at the Libertarian Party National Convention in 2002.
Which was very good.
And I knew that I was either going to be lynched or get a standing ovation. I knew it was going to be one or the other. What I try to do is get people to re-examine underlying assumptions. And the underlying assumptions that are currently driving what we say when we grab people's lapels and say, vote Libertarian instead of Democrat and Republican, I think are deeply flawed. And they're based upon premises that we really need to re-examine. I gave a keynote speech at the Libertarian Party National Convention in 2002, but let me warn people that I'm also very often a liberal. I've very often voted Democrat. I am fundamentally a pragmatist. I believe that we are on an arc of 50 years that should result in a human civilization in which every child rises up with enough protein, enough intelligence, enough calm, so that he or she as an adult can compete joyfully with others in creative endeavors.
Well, you know, you talk about voting Democrat, and actually, contrary to what's believed out there and how the Republicans try to sell the Republican Party, they, according to all studies that have been done by people on the left, right, and the center, Republicans are growing government even worse than the Democrats.
What can you say? I mean, under Bill Clinton, deficits inarguably went down. Of the 7 major industries that have been deregulated in the last generation, Democrats were responsible 5 times. Democrats led the way towards deregulating welfare. I'm not going to say to the libertarians out there, go out and vote Democrat. No, but what I am going to say is redefine this business of your two enemies, the Republican and the Democrats, instead of saying there's no choice between them. recognize that the Democrats are your legitimate opposition in how to solve human problems. Both the Libertarians and the Democrats believe we have a lot of problems to solve. If we're going to get 10 billion adults in 30 years who are sovereign, mature, strong-brained, educated people who want to control their own lives. You see, libertarians have the same long-term dream that Marx had. If you look at Karl Marx, the long-term goal of communism was to have a withering away of the state, no coercion by anybody of anybody else, people making individual choices, and every person making the best deal. The difference between Marx and standard libertarian dogma and a third type of libertarianism is, how do we get there?
Yeah.
Marx says you have to build up a certain level of entrepreneurialism through the bourgeois capitalists, and once they have built the means of production, you don't need them anymore. You don't need their entrepreneurial skills anymore. The proletariat will take over. What a loony idea. The farther we get into the post-industrial era, the more we need entrepreneurs. The more rapidly capital has to be recycled and ingenuity has to be brought into the movement of capital. The whole idea that all value is based on the human man-hour has been disproved. Sorry, Carl. What I'm trying to contend is that libertarians are closer. The standard libertarian cant of today is just as fallacious because it's based on the romantic notion of a fall from a natural state of grace. Market laws are natural laws. We would naturally be in a free civilization if it weren't for a sin. In this case, the sin of government, but Aquinas said it was the sin of the eating of the apple. This is a deeply human way of looking at the world. We fell from a natural state of grace because of sin. It's called romanticism.
The sin of regulation.
Yes, the sin of government.
Right.
And that's all we rant about as libertarians, is the sin of government. Instead of noticing that people aren't buying that. The consensus of America for 3 generations has been, we have problems to solve. If you aren't going to offer us market solutions to these problems, we're going to use the state to solve these problems. And the air in LA is better. I don't care how you can hypnotize yourself into saying the public schools are hellish. They aren't.
Some of them are.
Some of them are. But through very crude statist solutions, we built universities, we built highways, we did things the left hand has proved to be worthwhile for some things. Ayn Rand would have us lop off the entire left hand of acting as a people to solve problems. Just as Karl Marx would have us lop off the entire right arm of individuals striving together to innovate and deliver new products and services. Excuse me, I'm not going to let you amputate either of my arms. We have to find out what they're good for.
When the public hears a lot of libertarians say these things, that's what they hear.
And they
hear something too extreme.
They aren't hearing Friedrich Hayek. They aren't hearing Hayek saying, watch what jobs you assign to the left hand, because we're too stupid. We don't know how to control an economy. Everybody who's tried has failed. Generally, let people compete and provide your goods and services, and you'll get cell phones, you'll get internets. But also beware that the left hand did make the original internet. Start learning what the left hand's good at and take away from